When you think about big name YouTubers who put out consistently high quality videos, Matt D'Avella is one of the first names to come to mind, at least my mind. I first found out about Matt a few years ago when he was doing his I tried cold showers or meditation or whatever, his 30-day challenges, and I've been a fan ever since. He's so good at giving out relatable and realistic ideas on how to live more intentionally that his channel has exploded in popularity, and the last time I looked, it had over 3 million subscribers. But behind all the tips and advice he gives, there are some real filmmaking techniques going on, and it's not an accident that his videos are so easy to watch. So what exactly is Matt doing from a technical standpoint, and what can you borrow from him to improve the quality of your own work? In this video, I'm going to get into 4 things that I've picked out that really define Matt's style and break them down so they're hopefully easy to understand. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back. And if you're new here, my name is Luke Forsyth, and on this channel, I teach the skills I've learned over 10 years of working as a documentary filmmaker and photographer. Before Matt was a huge YouTube star, he was a freelance filmmaker and ran his own production company. Well, I say used to, but I'm pretty sure his second film is coming out on Netflix, so he's still doing it. The point is, he's not just a social media sensation, he has a strong background in the techniques of professional filmmaking, and you can see it in his videos. They've all got that Matt D'Avella look, and they're just nice and welcoming to watch. But what does that mean, and how is he getting that same look over and over again? The first thing I notice in his videos is how soft they all look. I don't mean that the shots are out of focus, but there is just an overall softness to his style. For me, this makes him feel approachable and friendly, like he's speaking to you from a safe and trusting place, and it makes me want to pay attention to what he's saying. Compare the look of Matt's videos to your average news broadcast, for example, and you can see the difference right away. Everything about the news is sharp and super clear, and it makes you feel like the interaction is all one way. You listen to what they're saying, but it doesn't feel like you're talking to a friend or having a conversation. Matt's videos, on the other hand, are much more gentle and intimate feeling. Where the news is sharp, his videos are soft. That all starts with his lighting, which is, you guessed it, soft. When we talk about soft lighting in filmmaking, what we mean is that the light comes from a big diffused source. If you're not sure what that means, diffused light basically means it's passing through something rather than shining directly on a subject. If I shine this light right at my face, it's going to be pretty harsh. But if I put this diffusion cloth between it, it's going to be a lot softer and more even. Diffused light creates a nice, even spread, whereas direct light creates hard lines and shadows. Light coming from a large source is also much softer than light coming from a small source. So if you can get a big source of light and pass it through diffusion, you're going to get softer light. The bigger the source and the thicker the diffusion, the more this effect increases. That's why in Hollywood, DPs who are shooting outside will rig up huge pieces of diffusion cloth that the sun, which is the biggest light source in the world, has to pass through before hitting the subjects or the actors. YouTubers like Matt work alone and don't have the manpower to rig up 20 by 20 pieces of silk for all his shots, but he's still using a big diffused source. I think in some BTS videos, I've seen him using a cheap paper lantern that they call a China ball in Hollywood, with maybe something like an aperture 120D as the source. You could do the same thing with the softbox attachment, but the China ball is a cheap and easy to transport hack that looks great too. The benefit to using a light rather than just a window is that you can shoot at any time of the day and your source won't move with the sun or change if a cloud goes past. But if you can't afford a big light just yet, get a cheap translucent shower curtain from Amazon and tape it to your window. Boom, a big soft source for less than 20 bucks. I didn't own lights for the first 2 years of my video career, and I got by just fine using that combo. So that's the first step in getting the Matt D'Avella look, but that's not all he's doing. The second step involves putting another layer of diffusion in front of the lens. I don't know if he always did this, but these days I'm noticing in his new videos, it looks like he's using a mist filter. Mist filters are basically pieces of glass that have some texture on them to break up an image and diffuse the light that's passing through it. Now that might seem like a weird thing to do since most lens reviews focus on sharpness as though it were the most important thing in the world, but sharpness doesn't necessarily make for a pleasing image. Some of the most used lenses in Hollywood are not at all optically sharp, and DPs pick them just because they have character, not because they're perfect. Since most of us can't be buying $25,000 cinema lenses for our videos, a mist filter can get you some of the way there for much cheaper. A mist filter will generally soften skin tones and create a kind of halo effect around bright lights. Just look in the background of Matt's shots in his new videos and notice that the lamps often seem to be glowing slightly. That's not how lamps look in the real world, and that's the effect of the mist filter. I'm also using one in this video to make me look a little less haggard after spending years of long hours working outside, and you can see the effect on the light behind me. It's kind of doing that same glowy thing. That's mist. There are a few different kinds of mist filters from different companies, but I personally use Black Pro Mist from Tiffin. In my opinion, it's the most organic and nice looking, but that's just my personal preference. You can get these filters in different strengths, but if you go too strong, the effect is going to be really intense and look like one of those old Hollywood movies where there are like glowing halos around everyone's head. For me, about 1/8 is about the perfect amount. And if you want to make it extra noticeable, you could go up to 1/4, but any more than that, and it doesn't really look real, so be careful. A good filter is about $150, so it's not super cheap, but it can really add some extra character to your shot. It definitely makes Matt's environment look nice and warm, and it's becoming a regular part of his aesthetic these days. But there's even more Matt does to enhance this whole soft vibe he's got going on, and the third thing isn't another accessory like a filter, but it has to do with the lenses themselves. Like I said, Matt was and is a professional filmmaker, and he's got quite a few high quality lenses that he uses. Because of that, he's able to shoot at low apertures, which give a nice shallow depth of field. Notice how in most of his shots he's in focus, but much of the background drops off? That's the low aperture. The exact science of why this happens is a full video in itself, and other people have already done amazing explainer videos on this, so I'm just going to keep it simple. The lower the number, the shallower the depth of field. A kit lens, like a 24-105 or something, has a minimum aperture of f4. A more expensive zoom lens, like a Sony 24-70, will go down to 2.8. Sigma even makes an 18-35 and a 50-100 that go down to 1.8, but that only works on crop sensor cameras. A good prime lens might go all the way down to 1.4 or even 1.2 in some cases, and there are even some specialty Hollywood lenses that go below that. Matt's videos have such a shallow depth of field and the backgrounds are always so soft that I'm guessing he uses a prime lens for most of his talking head videos, but it could also be a 2.8 zoom, I guess. If you want to get the same look in your videos, try shooting on the lowest aperture your lens is capable of, and you'll get a similar look with an out of focus background. A prime lens like a 35 or a 50mm 1.4 will get you a super soft background if that's the style you're into. I personally shoot my videos at 2.8, but experiment with different looks and lenses and choose for yourself. The last thing I want to point out that make Matt's videos so great has nothing to do with the camera and everything to do with his audio. Specifically, Matt's videos sound amazing, and since he's got years of filmmaking and podcasting experience, it shouldn't be a big surprise. I've said it over and over again on this channel, but sound is just as, if not more important than the video. People will watch rough video, but they have no patience for terrible audio. Matt clearly embraces this point because the sound quality on his videos is fantastic. The easiest way to do this is by getting the best mic you can afford and putting it as close to your face as possible. Matt uses a shotgun mic on a boom arm stand, which he's talked about a few times in his videos. And even though you can never see it, it's always right there, just out of frame. I think I remember him saying once that he uses a Sennheiser 416, which is about $1,000 and not a cheap mic by any means. That information might be out of date, but it makes sense as a ton of YouTubers from MKBHD to Ali Abdaal use the same one, and it's been a workhorse in the professional industry for years. I own one myself, and I carry it with me in my kit for doing sit-down interviews. And if you can afford it, it really sounds great. There are also even better ones, like from a company called Schoeps or Sheps, I'm not sure how you say it, but those start to get seriously expensive. And for YouTube, I think it's a bit overkill. If you can't afford a 416, don't worry, it's not gonna ruin your videos to use something cheaper. Just get the best one you can afford and put it close to your face, and the results will be just fine. I'd highly suggest a shotgun on a boom pole over a lav mic if you're able, because it will give you much deeper and richer sound. Lavs are great when characters are moving and as a backup for interviews, but in general, a shotgun will sound nicer, which makes sense because a shotgun is about a foot long and a lav is about an inch long. So there are the 4 things that really jump out at me about Matt's videos. If you think I missed something, or if you noticed something that you love about them that I didn't touch on, let me know in the comments. And as you watch this video, don't feel like you have to copy exactly what he's doing, other than prioritizing sound, because you absolutely have to do that. But you don't need to shoot at 1.4 with a Pro Mist filter and a huge softbox to make your videos good. It's a stylistic choice that works well for Matt's channel and what he's all about. It's good to know what people like Matt are doing so you can experiment and see what works for you, but they're ideas, not rules. Story and content are king, so make sure the style works for what you're getting across. Don't just do them because Matt did. Mr. Beast and PewDiePie videos look nothing like Matt's, and they're no less successful, so it all comes down to your message. But if you love the Matt D'Avella style, soft light, low apertures, and a bit of mist in front of the lens will help get you most of the way there. Saying something that other people want to listen to is the real challenge. Hope that video helped you to understand Matt's filmmaking style and that you learned something you can apply to your own creative projects. I've done a few other breakdowns of YouTubers I like MKBHD and Casey Neistat, so if you like this video, maybe check those out. And maybe think about giving me a like or subscribe while you're at it so I can keep making more. See ya!